Namiwa awaits government response on some CSO's request to fire AG Nyirenda, DPP Kayuni and IG Kainja. Malawians to experience extended blackouts as Agrico's contract comes to an end. Road accident in Chikwawa has claimed 3 lives last evening. We have this and other stories. Stand by for the news in detail. And now we give you the news in detail. One of the top officials from some civil society organizations and concerned citizens of Western Namiwa says they are yet to receive feedback from government on their request, which included the firing of Attorney General Thabo Nyirenda, Director of the Public Prosecutions Dr. Steve Kayuni, and Inspector General of Police Dr. George Kainja. The concerned citizens recently called for the resignation of the trio, citing that they are blocking the fight against corruption in the country. Namiwa says the country is serious in the fight against corruption. The trio have to be fired. He has since challenged President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera to fire the trio before the end of 14 days at Madam, which is to end in 3 days' time. Namiwa added that if President Chakwera will not address their concerns, they will conduct vigils at Capitol Hill and other places to be announced in due course. Namiwa explains to reporter Lester Mohoni.
The powers, in the course of saving the country from state capture, we discovered that the Attorney General Thabo Nyirenda, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Dr. Steve Kayuni, and the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Kainja, are bent at doing anything to punish someone or anyone who dares touch the anointed businessman Yunus Sata. Therefore, we think the best way, if you are to win the war, if you are to win the fight against corruption, President Lazarus Chakwera, who in this case has the powers that we borrowed him through that ballot, he should exercise such powers to fire the trio because they have proven that they are throwing spanners in the works for the Anti-Corruption Bureau. And to put it bluntly, the Tose Alliance is spending sleepless nights trying to scheme how they're going to get Master Jizuma fired or arrested.
That was Sylvester Namiwa explaining more to our reporter Lester Mohoni. The government has terminated the contract with Agrico's company, which was supplying 78 megawatts to Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi, ESCOM, from this coming Friday, 22nd April. ESCOM Chief Executive Officer Kankwamba Kumwinda has confirmed the development, saying the contract was not fruitful as Agrico's company was being paid whether they operate or not. Kumwinda says the termination has the potential to change the lives of the citizens in the future as the government is planning a long-term plans. The termination has brought fear among citizens as the blackouts might extend from 6 hours per day to 8 hours per day. Our reporter, Eric Norman Mkwaira, caught up with Kankwamba Kumwinda.
It's true that the contract with Agrico was terminated and it's coming to an end on 22nd of this month. The decision has been arrived at by government, who are the policyholders, having looked at all circumstances surrounding the contract of Agrico. You might wish to know that since Agrico came in, as ESCOM, we have paid about 32 billion Malawi for capacity. When I say capacity, what it means that we paid them whether we're using the machines or not. For the energy that they supplied to us, we paid them 4.7 billion. Energy supplied was only 4.7 billion, which maybe is just 2% of our energy needs. But over and above that, we also procured diesel, because diesel is on account of ESCOM, amounting to 77 billion. So you can see that for the 2% that they were providing us in terms of energy, we paid them all these quantities. So government had to make a decision which is better long term. Should we still continue paying Agrico, or we can as well procure our own generators? So the government has made a decision that this contract should be terminated, and it has been terminated.
The Nzuzu Youth Anti-Corruption Movement has described the comedian Boni Kalindo's anti-Martha Chizuma demonstrations, a weak link aimed to frustrate efforts to fight corruption in the country. Kalindo is said to have plans to organize demonstrations to demand the firing of Martha Chizuma on her position as ACB director. Team leader for the grouping, Matthews Kajani, is of the view that ACB and other institutions in the good governance sector should be given the necessary support in order to end corruption in the country. Kajani has further expressed dismay with Kalindo's move to frustrate Chizuma, who has demonstrated her passion in fighting corruption. He explains to Mese Chumala.
We are very disappointed to note that Mr. Boni Kalindo would like to crucify Martha Chizuma in her anti-corruption efforts, but we still maintain the hope that the president will not heed to his demands and the people will not follow him to the streets to demonstrate against Martha Chizuma. We know Malawians have realized that corruption is a serious challenge and that Martha Chizuma is the right person to fight this vice. She has demonstrated over the years as the ombudsman and now as the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Bureau that she can fight corruption and she can fight it successfully. If anything, we need to be supporting Martha Chizuma other than crucifying her in her efforts to lead this country of corruption.
On his part, Operations Director for the Citizen Advancement for Economic Revolution, Kea Frederick Billy Malata, has proposed for the Review of Corrupt Practices Act that will, among others, empower courts to provide deterrent sentences to the perpetrators of the vice. Malata has since urged ACB officials to exercise professionalism so as to effectively fight corruption. The recent Afrobarometer report indicates that corruption continues to rise in the country, with the Malawi Police Service perceived to be the most corrupt institution. It has been revealed that the country is spending about $42 million on Tanzanian fuel tankers operator every year to bring the commodity into Malawi. This was discussed in Salima during a meeting of fuel transporters and the Natural Resources Committee of Parliament. Speaking at a meeting, Natural Resource and Climate Change Committee of Parliament Chairperson Welani Chilenga says the committee is committed in ensuring that Malawians enjoy a lion's share of fuel business. We caught up with Welani Chilenga.
We are very committed, 100% committed. We are in Parliament to represent Malawians. These concerned fuel transporters are Malawians just like any other person. So there's no way as a committee we can segregate Malawians over other Malawians. What we want is that as Malawians we should be the first ones to benefit from this. We understand the fact that at times we have got challenges where foreigners can bring in fuel, but not that they should be monopolizing. Let Malawians who have tankers, they should at least benefit from the investment which they have put into the country.
3 people have died on a road accident that occurred last evening in Chinyama district. Chinyama police spokesperson Dickson Mademba has confirmed the development, saying the accident happened at Kalima village near Crown Plantation in Ngabo along Blantyre Chinyama M1 road. Mademba says the accident involved a minibus registration number BX 8070 driven by Mavuto Justice 32 coming from Njalo heading to Ngabo with 10 passengers on board. Justin and a man, Isaac Chimuntubanda, and his wife Memory Kabango sustained multiple head injuries, and later the wife was pronounced dead upon arrival at Ngabo Rural Hospital. Dickson Mademba elucidates.
The minibus registration number BX8070, Toyota Hiace, was being driven by a 33-year-old man who was known as Mavuto Justin, now deceased, of Ngalo village traditional authority in Ngabo here in Chinyama, and was coming from Njalo heading to Ngabo with 10 passengers on board. On arrival at the said place, the minibus was overtaking a motor vehicle when it collided head-on with a Yamaha AG200 motorcycle, registration number CK1388, which was coming from the opposite direction. Following the crash, the motorbike riders, who were husband and wife, only identified as Isaac Chimuntubanda, aged 45, and the Memory Kabango, Chimuntu Banda from Kotakota district sustained multiple head injuries and were pronounced dead upon arrival at Gaburulo Hospital. The driver, who sustained a jaw fracture, died later while receiving treatment at Mkwaira District Hospital, while the 10 passengers escaped with minor injuries. Meanwhile, as police in the district, we are warning drivers to observe speed limit and avoid careless driving to avoid such kind of an accident.
Chinyama Police spokesperson Dixon Matemba. Police in Doha have arrested 2 men for allegedly stealing railway materials. Doha Police spokesperson Gladson Bumpa has confirmed the development, saying a 39-year-old Gerald Stanley and 32-year-old Mika Jitsulo were arrested on Saturday night at Jisonga Village Traditional Authority, Chiwele in the district. Bumpa said that the incident happened when the community policing members were conducting patrols along the railway. The suspects were caught as the motor vehicle registration number KK9250 was loading 11 bags of railway materials. Gladson Bumpa explains.
It's true that the 2 men are in police custody at the police station on suspicion that they store railway lines materials. The suspects, identified as Gerald Stanley 39 and Mika 32, were arrested during the night of April 16 to April 17, 2022 at Chisonga Village in traditional authority Chiwele in Chisi district, in Idua district. These suspects will appear before court soon to answer charges of theft.
With that item, we conclude our newscast. But before we go, a recap of the top stories. Namiwa awaits government response on some CSO's request to fire Agent Nyirenda, DPP Kayuni and IG Kainja. Malawians to experience extended blackouts as Agricore's contract comes to an end. Road accident in Chinyama has claimed 3 lives last evening. You have been with me, Monica Chinyama Lipiya. Good evening.